Yes, good morning once again. So we're now moving to our quarter two, week three. It's all about writing a position paper. Of course, your presenter, Teacher Meets. Our target for this morning is all about expounding what a position paper is and its guideline, present a background or viewpoint for an argument, and display the framework of a position paper, and then develop the argument in writing a position paper. So let's try to take a look at an overview on how such writing a position paper is going to be figured out, entailing the three structures of writing. Actually, all types of writing are having this kind of parts: the introductions, the body, and the conclusion. When it comes in presenting a position paper, the first thing that you're going to do in the introduction is to present the issue, define the issue, and discuss the issue. And then provide a general statement of your position by having a thesis statement. Then we also have this what you call body. The body, as a writer of this position paper, you need to state your main argument. So your main argument is can be found within your thesis statement. Then providing evidence and support for your argument. Provide counterclaim against the possible weaknesses of your argument, and that's for the body. And then the last one, we have this conclusion. As a writer, you need to restate your main argument, suggest a course of action or suggested action, and then state what makes your position superior and more acceptable compared to others. And end with a powerful closing statement such as quotation or a challenge or even a statement. So with this kind of vision, you may probably perceive what kind of content of introductions, body, and conclusion you're supposed to produce. All right, let's move on. Next, we have this background of the subject for argument or proposition. So these are the topics that you have just chosen about West Philippine Sea, economy, and then rules and regulations. If you have just remember our discussions concerning a thesis statement, this process was also the same process that we had during the time we studied about thesis statement. That was week one, quarter one, week four. In fact, we also developed a paragraph there where the target subject is all about floods, and then the topic came to floods in SBSF and the impact of flooding in SBSF High School, and what does it bring. And you said that can be more challenging for the students because they are struggling on their schooling. So with that examples that we had, that was actually an example of thesis statement entailing the topic, the claim, the issue to be talked about, and also the position of the writer. So almost same thing with this one, but all you have to do, you have to bring out your reasons for this. At least three or four reasons it's supposed to be pointed out. And some other examples are also listed down here. And then the issue that we gathered here in the West Philippine Sea in Calayan Islands, economic status in the municipality of Macabebe, implementations of rules and regulations as the issues to be talked about. And then from that issue, we formulated an argumentative thesis where this argumentative thesis was supposed to be developed in a form of writing a position paper. The West Philippine Sea is the issue, which was actually taken from the previous slides, and then we just come up with another slide, and then it turned out to be an argumentative thesis. The West Philippine Sea belongs to the sovereignty of the Philippines because the concerned person in authority is holding the maps of the Philippines and have preserved and kept the by the Philippine government. And then the other one, economic status in the municipality of Macabebe. The economic status in the municipality of Macabebe was getting better for the past 4 years because of the construction establishment in the areas. Of course, they will be paying tax for that, and that will be an additional income for the municipality. Implementations of rules and regulation. The rules and regulations must strictly be followed by the students for proper discipline. So once the rules and regulations have been implemented, it should be followed by the students for them to maintain proper discipline. Okay? Later on, we will be developing one position paper using one of these issue and argumentative thesis. Let's continue. So there are guidelines in writing a position paper. The first one is choose an issue as what presented in the introduction. You have to present the issue. And what issue are you talking about? So a while ago we mentioned something about the West Philippine Sea, the economy, and also the rules and regulations. And then we just came up in particularizing those by pointing out that these are actually became an issue. Okay, conduct in-depth research on the issue. From this issue, it's not only a matter of coming up with a basis of your own knowledge. You must have some kind of evidence to be used in order for you to defend your side on your stand, claiming for something on the given issue. Whenever you are pointing out something, if you're just going to depend all the way with your own point, sometimes it tend to become baseless and pointless because there is no such backup to be added to be used so that your audience can probably be persuaded. Okay, the next one we have this use familiar language. The primary purpose of writing is not to impress, but rather to express. So it is really possible that when you are going into a writing a position paper, use only those languages that are familiar and concrete. So avoid unfamiliar language or highfalutin words. Okay. The next one, check the argument for fallacies and omit them. So if there are things that you do not understand, when we are talking about fallacies, so these are basically unsound or somehow mistaken to the argument. So you need to omit them because somehow you are trying to misconstrue the audience about your argument. So better for you to omit those fallacies because they are just only mistaken. And then the next one, establish the credibility of your arguments with a valid sources. There are only two sources that we've been relying for, the primary sources and the secondary sources. So if it is the primary sources, these are first-hand information that we acquired from the experts, from an interview, from survey, from statistical data, if it is a first hand to be heard, uh, first time to be open, first time to be shown, all of those are example of primary sources. Now, if it is secondary sources, these are written documents, basically on bibliographical entries. We also have these periodicals such as journal, newspapers, and magazines. And also, we also have these general references as Cambridge Literature, Atlas's Almanac, and also encyclopedia, as well as the different website where we can search for the Google Scholar, the Ericsson Library, and the Microsoft as well, where it will lead us to determine and to find out where we can probably get some sources to stand on the credibility of someone else, okay, and to make the sources more valid rather than invalid. Okay, let's continue. Now we also have this what we call limit your paper for two pages. So one will do actually as long as the content is very substantial and at the same time all important things that are supposed to be learned by your audience are already found within one page. but probably it can probably be maximized to 2 pages when you are writing a position paper. Okay, and try to observe also this standard for when you are preparing a position paper. Okay, it shouldn't be colored paper, it's a plain paper, and then at least with double spacing, one margin, all sides, and then the common font size as well, and the font style, it's either Arial and also Times New Romance. Those are the most common time phone style to be used for such a standardized pattern or style. Next, we also have this identify target readers and align your arguments to their beliefs, interests, and likes. Of course, before writing into any subject for argument, you have to make sure that your audience have the knowledge also about on your arguments, on your propositions, because especially if it is going to be held in a form of debate, make sure that the audience themselves have also this background of information concerning your arguments. However, when it comes in writing, as a writer of a position paper, you should consider the level of proficiency of your audience, whether they can easily catch up on this kind of arguments or not. That's why when you are starting to write, you're not only after with the audience, but also with the subject, with also with the purpose of the writer. The purpose, the audience, and the subject are always come together when you are about to write as a writer. The next one is using active voice for dynamic tone. The primary purpose of using active voice is to give more emphasis on the doer of the actions rather on the receiver of the actions performed by the subject. Okay? And then the emphasis is more on those persons who are acted upon on this argument or proposition. Then arrange your evidence logically using inductive or deductive approaches. So, in our previous lessons, we just came to conclude in using syllogism, where the reasoning start from general to specific, and that is what you call deductive approach. And the other one is inductive approach, start from specific to general. The deductive reasoning, where the categorical syllogism is applied, are one of the example that we cited in our previous discussions, where all men are sinners, Jan is a man, therefore he is a sinner, where the first one is a universal affirmative, the first premise, which is the major premise, and the minor premise is is a particular affirmative, and the conclusions lies on the two premises where Jan is a sinner. Okay? And then the middle term with that example is that man is the middle term, and then the conclusion, the subject of the conclusion serve to be the minor term, and the predicate of the conclusions, which is the sinner, is our major term. Okay, so I guess you can still remember what we had in our previous discussions about quarter two, depending on stand in an argument or a proposition. Now let's continue. So make an appeal to your arguments in a logical, emotional, and ethical manner, where the logical appeal pertaining to the facts that you've gathered, and that's more on the sources, and the emotional appeal, this is on how you value such things, and you're not just making your judgment outwardly, but also outwardly. And then the ethical manner, so this is more on the notable quote of those experts and celebrities who made mention something about such informations concerning your arguments. So it's just like taking down those per people, the notes of those people who made mention something about your argument. So that those are already considered an example for ethical manner. Not only that, in ethical manner, we are also referring to the policy. Like for example, if there are some kind of article indicating about a certain issue, for example, if it has something to do with the bullying, what are those? those act telling about bullying. So it can probably be Republic Act, if I'm not mistaken, 10627 anti-bullying, and also the Privacy Act law. These are actually written by those people in expert, and they can probably share this to us because we can follow this as a guideline for us and be informed whether what we are doing is actually good or not at all. Okay, so let's try to see and foresee the framework of having a position paper, and this is the format. So you have to present your topic and then the claim or positions added. Isn't it in our previous discussion when quarter one, week four, when topic, point, and positions are added together, they are actually labeled as thesis statement. What is the first thing that we should do when we are about to introduce our issue for a position paper? And then the reason one, well, we need to back up our positions by reason one, provide with explanation, examples, and then make a counter arguments why this reason one needs to be. Okay, the counter arguments for counterclaim for your reason one. Okay, and then supporting evidence should follow for this. And then if there are still another reason in supporting your possession and claim for the given issue, then there will be another reasons to be identified, followed by explanation, example, counterclaim for reason two, and then supporting evidence um, or interview perhaps, or perhaps support for the claim. And then the reason number three, if there are still explanation, example, counterclaim for reason three, and then supporting evidence are indicated. And then the last paragraph is your conclusion, which is suggested actions and then explanation. So the first one until the introductions, and then the reason one, reason two, and reason three labeled as body of your position paper, and the last part is the conclusion. This is the way on how you are going to foresee your position paper for this manner. Okay? And sandy clay and islets like Spratleys, Calayan Island near the West Philippine Seas have proven that it really belongs to the Philippine territory. However, despite the proofs, this is the counter claim. However, despite the proof of other parts of the territory in West Philippine Sea had been reclaimed by the Chinese government and even put some structure over that reclaimed areas and within the demarcation line of the Philippine boundaries. Okay, let's continue. Though it says that Chinese government is still believing that one of the reason in continuously claiming the islands over the boundary of Philippines is because of the belief that in the early days of living, another reason, this area is the West Philippines, this area in the West Philippine Sea claimed by the Chinese government had already established and mobilized by their great grand ancestor, and that is one of the counterclaim. This was cited by one of the history professor in the University of the Philippines, of which made the Chinese to believe and claim perhaps as their own territory. Okay, let's continue. Granting that way, Yet the point here is that the Philippines is owing some documents that were presented internationally in the arbitrary tribunal court and recognizing that the West Philippine Sea belongs to the sovereignty of the Philippines. So these are now provided sources that we may be considering valid in support in claiming that the West Philippine Sea really belongs to the Philippines. Okay, this was spoken out by Antonio Carpio, okay, a notable person who made mention something that this is really belong by within the territory of the Philippines. It's spoken by Antonio Carpio, the former Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of the Philippines, had mentioned something that the Philippines has the strongest documents to show and display over these intruders. So, by Carpio's word, he challenged the other neighboring countries to lay down their documents of maps and paper as well over this territory. Okay? Since the issue is still ongoing, it is just proper to defend all the way the territory of the Philippines. Although in so many times Filipinos and Philippine Coast Guard are threatened by this Chinese Coast Guard. The wrongdoing they displayed airing on TV was already an act of unbecoming. This was seen worldwide at that time. In the end, people in the area of West Philippines see this is now the suggested action. In the end, people in the area of West Philippine Sea are not losing their hope, and even the Philippine government in winning the truth and enlightening them in seeing equal justice to all. So it's just like making themselves to remain calm despite those actions being showcased and displayed by the intruders, and this was actually shown and seen by all over the world by all people worldwide. So they can take their judgment, or they could have taken their judgment during the time the incident happened. Okay, so this is an example of a position paper. And these are the references that I've gathered for. It is all about Atom Arroyo episode about West Philippine Sea, and also some point concerning position paper. And I also took it from the book of effective writing. One of the authors, unknown author from CEU Menjola, Manila. Okay, so I hope I have shared the great things about writing a position paper and enjoy while watching it. Thanks for watching and have a nice day to everyone.